Hello, I am going to talk about ancient China and ancient Egypt. Ancient Egypt was the most powerful empire in Africa between 5,000 years and 2,000 years ago. Ancient China was the most powerful and interesting place in Asia since around 4,000 years ago and even up to 1912. Looking at this map of the world, we are here on the East Coast. Then crossing the Atlantic Ocean is Africa, and crossing Africa, you get to Egypt here. Then you go across Asia and get to China here. So they were pretty far apart and were not in contact with each other. Geography. Both Egypt and China grew along very large rivers. For ancient Egypt, it was the Nile River, which is 4,100 miles long and the longest river in the world. And for ancient China, it was the Yellow River and the Yangtze River. The Yangtze is the third longest, and the Yellow River is the sixth longest in the world. This was important for farming and for transportation. When the Nile flooded, it was pushed up rich black soil, which was great for farming. They grew wheat and papyrus. For ancient China, farming started along the Yellow River, which was rich yellow soil to grow grain and raise animals. The Yangtze had good soil for growing rice. These rivers were also good for moving people and trading. Another part of geography was protection. Ancient Egypt was surrounded by deserts, especially the Sahara Desert, so it was difficult for enemies to attack. Ancient China was surrounded by two deserts and the Himalayan mountains and the Pacific Ocean, so it was tough to attack. How they were ruled. There are three important words: dynasty, pharaoh, and emperor. Both ancient Egypt and ancient China were ruled by powerful families called dynasties. A dynasty is a family that had power and gave leadership from one family member to another. They chose pharaoh or the emperor. There were over 30 dynasties in Egypt, the first dynasty under Menes in 2950 and the last under Cleopatra. The Shang dynasty was first 1570 BC in China, and Qing was last in 1912. There were 13 dynasties in China. A pharaoh was like a king for Egypt. The pharaoh was sometimes treated as a god and sometimes as a high priest like a pope. Emperor was like a king for China. The emperor had the power of heaven behind him, but was not a god. Buildings and monuments. Egypt. The Egyptians were big on tombs and pyramids. Pyramids were a type of tomb. They believed there was an afterlife after death, so the body had to preserve as a mummy. After death, the body was wrapped in linen and glue to create the mummy. The Great Pyramid was 480 feet tall and the tallest building in the world. There were traps and curses on the tombs to keep robbers out. The tomb of King Tut had a curse. The man who found it had a pet canary which was eaten by a cobra on the day he entered. I think this is where mummy movies come from. Now, isn't that just spooky? Sphinx was a creature with the body of a lion and the head of a person. It was built to guard tombs. The Great Sphinx guards the pyramids. Its eye alone are 6 feet high, which is about the same height as the room I'm standing in right now. Temple of Karnak is the largest temple in Egypt. It took 3,000 years to build completely. And now, isn't that just amazing? We have talked about ancient Egypt's buildings and monuments. Now we're going to talk about China's, of course. The Great Wall in northern China was built to keep out invaders. It is 5,500 miles long. It was built and rebuilt over 1,000 years. It was made out of stone and bricks. The Forbidden City. Forbidden. The place where emperors lived. It was the largest ancient palace in the world, built of bricks, marble, and logs. Now this last one is a little spooky. The Terracotta Army is the burial tomb built by Emperor Qin. This is an army has 8,000 life-size statues of soldiers. Emperor Qin wanted to live forever and thought this army would protect him in the afterlife. Ancient Egypt and ancient China both had ways of writing that would be strange for us. The Chinese developed calligraphy. Unlike our alphabet, which has 26 letters, they had 40,000 characters instead of letters, and words they wrote from top down to bottom. The Chinese invented paper and printing press. In Egypt, they used hieroglyphics to write. These are picture words they wrote in all directions, left to right, right to left, and top down. There were thousands of these pictures words. Now isn't that just amazing? Egypt wrote on walls and papyrus, a plant which grew near the Nile. Now we're going to talk about how they ended. Ancient Egypt ended when it was invaded by Romans in the 30 BC. Cleopatra was the last empress. Ancient China as an empire ended in 1912 when there was a revolution in China and throughout the last dynasty. Both China and Egypt are countries now, but they are no longer empires run by dynasties. So to finish, both ancient Egypt and ancient China were around for a very long time compared to us. The USA is less than 300 years old. There is so much history about these two emperors I can't even talk about. What I will remember is how rivers, deserts helped make both of them rich and protected so they could grow, get strong. And I also learned that the Egyptians invented toothpaste and toothbrush. Now isn't that just absolutely amazing? I can't believe that. After this, I really want to visit the pyramids, the Sphinx in Egypt, and the Great Wall, and of course the Terracotta Army in China. I really enjoyed this project and learned a lot. Peace.